Kawhi Anthony Leonard, born June 29, 1991. In this Growth Spurt feature, I'd like to focus on a guy that turned his career outlook around from a pretty good defensive talent entering the league to an all-time great player and top 75 of all time, making the NBA's 75th anniversary team in 2022. Top 34 to be exact. The NBA decided that of the almost 5,000 players that's touched an NBA floor, there was and is only 33 players they deem better than Kawhi Leonard. A statement nobody, maybe not even Kawhi himself, seen coming after being ranked outside the top 50 in high school prospects nationally, enrolling at a program like San Diego State that isn't considered a premier basketball school as far as competition, spending a few seasons there, then taken outside the NBA draft lottery, 15th overall, to a team like the Spurs with 3 already established All-Stars, Hall of Famers in Tim Duncan, also ranked 9th in the top 75, Manu Ginobili, Hall of Fame inductee in 2022, and Tony Parker, who will likely be inducted in 2023. The Spurs also had a coach that wasn't too fond of playing young talent significant minutes, nor changing much about his well-oiled machine that already won 4 championships before Kawhi's arrival. Initially in the NBA, the only persons that knew how good Leonard could be was himself, the Spurs front office that gave up beloved George Hill on draft night to the Pacers, who was supposed to be Tony Parker's replacement, in trade to land Kawhi, and coach Greg Popovich, who since Kawhi's rookie season has predicted he will become a star. But in his first 3 seasons, that greatness wasn't on full display just yet, as Kawhi was still producing modest but productive numbers that snuck its way up on the NBA, like him shooting better than 37% in that span from 3, when that was one of the knocks on his game leaving college, where he shot horrendously at 25% for his 2-year career at a shorter NCAA 3-point line distance, or him averaging 13.6 rebounds and almost 2 steals a game, shooting better than 50% from the floor in under 30 minutes a game in 2013-14. He then became a Finals MVP, All-Star, and face of the Spurs by Tim Duncan's final season, leading into one of the greatest NBA seasons of all time, and complete movie what he did in his only season in Toronto. Without the many injury setbacks he's had over his career, an argument can be made he would have been top 10 all time instead of 34th, but for now, he'll settle for even being on the list seeing where he came from. How did Kawhi hit his growth spurt? Let's talk about it. It's your boy JC Stunted Growth. Just get it, man. Take a minute to like, subscribe, and comment on who I should do next. Kawhi Leonard is a 6'7" small forward from Los Angeles, California that starred for Martin Luther King High School in his junior and senior years, becoming the state's Mr. Basketball, leading his team in scoring at 23 a game, rebounds 13 a game, block shots, and steals. They went 30-3 during his senior season, and Kawhi was named the LA Times and John Wooden Player of the Year, scoring at least 20 points and 20 rebounds 6 times. He was accomplished but still ranked a 4-star recruit and outside the top 50 in his class. He chose San Diego State because the other big-name schools in the area couldn't promise the development the Aztecs could, which meant playing time and coming right in as the featured player. Growth Spurt number 1, became a better shooter. I'd like to begin here in how Kawhi became the player he did, because I can't emphasize to young hoopers enough how important to your career being a great shooter can be. I'll give you one example: Russell Westbrook versus Damian Lillard. These two have always had a certain rivalry back and forth on the court, but have 2 very contrasting styles, although both also made the top 75 list. Westbrook made his bones in the league being a physical and athletic rim attacker who didn't take much and didn't shoot well from deep or mid-range. Damian, on the other hand, beats his defenders most times with finesse, savvy, and a deep shot that literally extends beyond half court with ease. A bad shot for someone else are great looks for him. Damian will no question have a more lengthy career than Westbrook, where he's productive until the day he leaves, all because shooting will never not be important. Westbrook, on the other hand, is having trouble fitting into teams as of recent, now on his 5th team in the last 3 years. I would much rather be a great shooter than high flyer any day. Kawhi in college, like mentioned, was a horrible three-point shooter, and his mid-range game had yet to be tapped into. He shot 20% from 3 as a freshman and 29% as a sophomore, well below average for a prospect with NBA hopes, and is why he fell in the draft to 15th. One of his issues was his shooting form. He pretty much slanged the ball at the rim in college, with his shooting arm almost parallel to the ground, while his guide hand stayed on the ball way too long, following the same motion as his other arm and the ball. He followed through like this, and it led to miscalculated shots the further he attempted them. Even though he didn't attempt many, this made him less of a multi-dimensional player. He was already benefiting from being physically more advanced than the competition, but when he made the shooting adjustments in the NBA, after getting with Spurs shooting coach Chip England, he became a different player. He completely changed his form, and immediately in the league, he shot much better. It actually became a standout point of his career, shooting 38% from 3. The biggest improvement he's made since entering the NBA. Growth Spurt number 2, developing a mid-range game. What really set Kawhi apart over the course of his NBA career was how good he became from the mid-range. He already had physicality as an advantage, he was already a defensive stopper, then he added a three-point shot beginning as a corner specialist, but next, to round it all off, he added a pull-up jumper. One of the more beautiful and underrated shots in basketball. A skill that doesn't get the praise it deserves, but one that can set an offensive player apart. When Kawhi was traded from the Spurs to the Toronto Raptors, after being injured and not liking the support he got from the coaching staff nor the players, he demanded a trade. The Spurs thought they were slick, sending him all the way out the country to Toronto, Canada, to a team that were swept in the second round the year before, with a leader in DeRozan who hadn't built the competitiveness to be that as yet. When Kawhi landed in Toronto, his mid-range game was on full display. You could tell he studied Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant's footwork, their fading shot move, even some of their exact sweet spots you see Kawhi almost mirror. Except he took all that to the next level as far as two-point field goal percentage. He shot better than Bryant and Jordan for his career in that area, Bryant 47%, Michael 51% versus Kawhi's 53%. He's very calculated in when he takes these shots, and in Toronto you could see him navigating games and controlling time, some of the best I've seen. In the last 10 years, the mid-range has seen a decline in attempts, but not for Kawhi. He's taken the traditionally effective shot and made it a strong point of his arsenal, and its help turned him into an all-time great. Growth Spurt number 3, the season in Toronto. For me, Kawhi's lone season in Toronto, where he won the franchise their first and only championship, was one of the best individual displays of leadership and star power I've seen. He played in 60 of the team's 82 games, popularizing load management that every team and star player now takes advantage of, and had his most productive season up to that point. Many thought Kawhi would go off to Toronto and wither away out the country as a solid all-star player like DeRozan has been to that point, and not much else. Instead, in a featured role, he had one of his best individual seasons statistically, averaging 26 points a game, career highs in rebounds, and 37% from 3. He was an all-star once again and led the Raptors back to the playoffs. In the second round, his game winner against the Sixers in Game 7 solidified his greatness that season, but he wasn't done. They cleaned Milwaukee, and Kawhi dominated the star comparison between he and Giannis, averaging 29, 9, and 4. In the finals versus Golden State, he took advantage of the Warriors' bad breaks, losing Kevin Durant and Klay to injuries, but seeing as it was now superstar versus superstar with he and Curry, I still respect he was able to pull out the victory in 4-2 fashion. Him winning that ring the way he did made it one of the more impressive victories in the last 10 years. It elevated him among NBA superstars, leading to his time now with the Clippers, heralded as one of the league's best players when healthy. All in all, Kawhi Leonard is a great player for young hoopers to follow. His story is all about hard work and dedication. It's not easy to change your shooting form or easy to deal with injuries and still be productive. It's also not easy having your team give up on you and ship you to essentially Bora Bora, and you turn it around and win big anyway. Overcoming all this is what makes Kawhi one of the biggest growth spurt stories of all time. Salute, one of my favorite players to watch in the NBA. Much respect. It's your boy JC Stunted Growth, and I'm out.